Welcome. It's time to call to order the Guthrie Public Schools Board of Education regular monthly meeting, Monday, September 10th. Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Here.
Pearson.
Here.
Pennington.
Here.
Bennett Johnson.
Here.
Davis. Here. Watts.
Here.
Salee.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join us for a moment of silence. Thank you. Agenda item 6, comments to the board. Are there any citizens registered to speak?
We have 7 tonight, Mr. President, registered to speak. Do you want to outline the procedures and refresh everyone's memory?
Yeah, so board policy allows at the beginning of the board meetings 3 minutes to address the board. No district employee or board member can be discussed. And also state law regarding open meetings law does not allow the board to address comments or to interact with the speaker because that topic is not on tonight's agenda. So you're welcome to address us, but we cannot respond to you. And so there's a 3-minute, board policy also specifies 3 minutes, so we respectfully ask that you keep that in mind as you speak to try and wrap everything up inside of 3 minutes. So the first step on, we take these in order as they were received, is Bob Davis.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, members of the school board. My name is Bob Davis, and I'm a board member of our state organization of Freemasons. We call it a Grand Lodge. I'm also the secretary of our Masonic Charity Foundation in Oklahoma, so I can speak on our philanthropies as well. And I realize that because we are a private society of men, that if you do not belong to our society, it can be very confusing as to what we do. And as a result, and we're also a quiet society of men, so there's a lot of conspiracy theories that are centered around our organization, which we choose not to respond to because it's not a part of who we are or what we do. But I want you to know that we were originally established to help create a civil society in Europe because we believed strongly that you cannot have freedom unless the people have the right to participate in the affairs of their government. We are a private society with a very public purpose. What we are not we're not plotting to overthrow the government. We're not hiding the treasures of the Knights Templar, and we're not performing weird rituals that like riding goats or sacrificing children or anything like that. What we do is we try our best to give back to our communities in many different ways. And since we believe that freedom depends on an educated population, education is one of those groups that we have always supported. And we do in Oklahoma, for instance, visual screenings for K through 12th grade in many schools across Oklahoma. We have screened 240,000 children in our Oklahoma public school system this year. 25,000 of those kids have needed some kind of visual aid. We have screened 4 million children since we started that program in 1986. We've contributed almost $4 million to the cause of preventing blindness in children. We sponsor the Oklahoma Teacher of the Year program. We not only recognize every local school district recipient of that honor, we give $5,000 to the man or woman who is recognized as our Teacher of the Year, and we give an additional $5,000 to his or her school district. We sponsor the State Superintendent of Schools Award for Arts Excellence. We do that every year right here in Guthrie, where we recognize and honor the top 50 high school seniors in the performing and visual arts across Oklahoma, and we recognize the administrators of those school districts that have gone beyond the normal path in promoting arts in their systems. We help schools teach dyslexic children how to read. We give scholarships to many students. We're the only organization in Oklahoma that has given endowments to every public funded university and college in Oklahoma, totaling over $2.5 million. We are the first organization to have given $1 million to the Oklahoma Education Television Authority. And the other public thing that we do is that we dedicate commemoration stones on schools, churches, and public buildings. In fact, in Oklahoma, we have laid cornerstones on 372 public schools, buildings, 50 colleges and universities, 141 churches, and 342 public buildings, including courthouses, police and fire stations, city halls, public libraries, historical buildings, hospitals, and seminaries. Now, why do we place cornerstones on public buildings? We do it because we've been doing it for 1,000 years. Our forefathers were the guilds of stonemasons of Europe.
Mr. Davis.
And they built the cathedrals and public buildings of Europe. And they always dedicated those buildings to the purpose for which they served through the use of some commemorative stone. And we're not unlike any other large organization in Oklahoma who do things for the public's interest, things which relate to their own heritage. For instance, the VFW holds ceremonies in cemeteries on Memorial Day to honor their deceased men and women. The military,
Mr. Davis, are we getting close? Are we getting close? Because we're
Yeah, we are getting
way
close.
over 30
American
minutes.
Legion, gives flags to public schools. We conduct cornerstone ceremonies, and we do that because we think it's an important building. And it's not it's a beautiful and meaningful ceremony that doesn't relate to the fraternity of Freemasons. We are just the agent that does that. It's all about your building and your history, and trying to instill the pride that we all have when a major event like this happens in your community. And it's a building that it's a ceremony that enables you to represent your own history. In the deposit that's made in the cornerstone, you can put the names of your administrators, the names of your schools, the names of your board members. You can put in there the budget of your school, because 100 years from now, when they decide they may want to build another school, they're going to open that deposit, and it's going to be a capsule of what was going on in public education in the country at this moment. And so I know that you would, it's a beautiful ceremony, very meaningful. Everybody that sees it enjoys it and appreciates it. And I think it'd be good for our community if you do it. And but it's your decision, and we'll honor whatever decision you make on it. I have left each of you a little brochure that talks about cornerstones and how you can plan to make this a really, really great public event. I'll just leave this with you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak.
So I'll remind everybody, 3 minutes is board policy, but so we try to be as accommodating as we can. But Mr. Steve Hanna.
Mr. President, members of the board, just to follow up on some of Mr. Davis's comments, I want to bring it a little bit closer to our community. At Convocation, right before school started, Mike Simpson talked about the community that is Guthrie. That community takes in a lot of people. Because of where we're situated with Grand Lodge and the Scottish Rite building, that community involves masonry. We're intertwined much more so than in other communities. Just to let you know, this last school year, $70,000 were awarded by Masonic organizations to people directly from Guthrie Public Schools. $70,000 to our kids to allow them to go on to be higher educated. Whether it's at the VOTEC, whether it's at the colleges, $70,000. That's a lot of money. It involved about 31 students that I could come up with today as I was running that through my head. So, in addition to that, there's been matching funds from Masonic lodges to the Guthrie Educational Foundation, which I'm involved in, that have helped us create the endowment that we have now, that give grants back to teachers. The Masonic Scottish Rite has allowed us to use the building for a variety of band, choir, FFA, sorry, my dad worked for FFA, I always get confused. Anyhow, and those are done at free of cost. The Scottish Rite charges everybody else $1,000 a usage. They don't for the schools because a free public schools is a fundamental belief of Masonry. And we believe that helping and recognizing the superb schools that we have here is a good purpose. That's what a cornerstone is. It is an opportunity to show the world that we're proud of the schools and that we're proud of the work that you as a board were able to get done in getting the first bond passed in a long, long time, and how proud we are to actually have a school in South County now. For those reasons, I encourage the board members to please consider this request and to allow the cornerstone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jackie Ross.
Good evening. You all probably know this, but I'm going to announce it anyway. But I'm a teacher at Cotterill. Moved over there this year. Love it, by the way. But tonight I come here in a little different role. I'm also the mother advisor of the local Rainbow Assembly here, Guthrie Assembly number 22. We have approximately 60 members on our roll from our community. About 35 to 40 of them are very active in our assembly, travel around with us and come to meetings regularly. And I can guarantee you that all 60 members, or 60 plus members, are very active in our school system. They range from being in the choir at the junior high to being on the basketball team, the band, the high school choir, the student body president, even just a regular student, but very active in our school system. Well, I come here tonight representing them. We found out that we get to participate in a cornerstone ceremony about a week ago at our meeting, and the mood in the meeting kind of went from, oh, this is a boring old meeting, to, hey, that's kind of cool. They've been hearing about the new school for a very long time now. Everybody has, and they thought the opportunity of getting to go out and participate in a ceremony like putting in a cornerstone would be a really cool opportunity to show that they not only are a member of our school system, but they are also a member of the Masonic body, Masonic fraternity, who will also be doing this for us. They look at it, and I look at it like an opportunity of community service. And that's basically what our organization is based on, is getting out in the community and doing everything you can to serve the public. We think that if this is a tradition and everybody is continuously willing to continue to do this for the public, then why not let it continue as a tradition? This might be, and probably will be, the only opportunity that the girls that are active right now in my assembly, their only opportunity to witness this ceremony, and for them to be able to say, well, in 2018, I got to witness one of the coolest things that the Masons do for the public schools or public buildings. I got to watch them do a cornerstone ceremony, and they can tell their kids about it. And just like we were discussing the cornerstone that's at Gelsma, I'm able to tell my kids about that. I remember, I think they did one at the police station too, back when the new police station was built. So anyway, I just I think this is a great tradition, and I think for me, speaking on behalf of my girls in my assembly, we would really like to participate in this ceremony and ask that you go ahead and let us do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jim Case.
Thanks for letting me speak. I don't have a lot to say. I'm not sure I understand what the objection is to having the cornerstone put on the building, but I will start by saying that for some reason I don't understand, people have placed a religious value on masonry that doesn't belong there. We aren't a religious organization. We never have been. We're about building men. We're not about saving people's souls. We're about saving men's morality and their ethics. That's what we do. And so I'm not sure I understand, and that's all I really came to say.
Okay, thank you. Next is George Kelly.
Mr. President and board members, I feel a little bit like a salmon swimming upstream because I respect all four of the people that spoke ahead of me. I do take umbrage with the idea of the cornerstone. And I base that not on the Masonic Lodge or Temple, but on the fact that if it's available for one organization, it should be available for any. And I feel that it should be, that criteria should be laid out, and whatever basis that is made, whether it's how much contribution is made, but it should be out there available for every organization to do that if they so wish. If not, I don't think anybody should be allowed to do it. And I feel I live in that district. I live on Forest Hills, right by the Lazy E. I appreciate that school that's there and the hard work that's gone into it, and every one of you for your dedication to the board, and everyone that takes the time to come to a meeting. I appreciate that. I just wanted to voice my opinion that I feel that to be fair and equitable, everyone needs to be a part, or no one needs to be a part. Thank you.
Next is Philip Mosley.
Mr. President, distinguished members of the school board, my name is Philip Mosley. I'm a 32nd degree KCCH Mason. You may or may not know that I give tours of that temple up there. I have been doing it for 17 years. One of the first things that I tell my guests on these tours is that the Masonic Order is the world's largest, oldest, and most prestigious fraternities. It is not a cult, a church, or a religion, as some folks might mistakenly believe. It's simply the world's largest, oldest, and most prestigious fraternity that believes in the fathership of God and the brotherhood of man, that takes its origins back to the building of King Solomon's temple in Old Jerusalem. Now, I am a Christian. Have been since I was 14 years old. And I am a Mason. And I'm proud of that fact. I don't like to talk about this because I don't like to shine the light on me. But I recently funded and founded a scholarship fund through the Masons, administered by a local Masonic lodge, that gives out annually scholarships to high school seniors here in the Guthrie school system that are good at the college of their choice, anywhere they want to go. The Masons have supported education for years, and that's something to be looked at. As far as us being a organization wanting to take over the world and stuff like that. That's not so. That's not at all so. That's based upon a bunch of ignorance, in my opinion. But anyway, Masons have put cornerstones in buildings for years. They've schools, things like that. And I think, in fact, Worshipful Brother Bob Davis mentioned the fact that we put a cornerstone in Jelsma Stadium. Well, I built the time capsule that's behind that cornerstone. It's got all sorts of information about Guthrie at the time, newspaper articles and things like that. And I was proud to do so. And I think that we should be allowed to put a cornerstone in this new school. Thank you for your time. Good
Thank you.
evening.
The last speaker is Tanya Radcliffe.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm Tanya Ratcliffe. I'm Executive Director of Pepper's Ranch Foster Care Community here in Guthrie, Oklahoma. I come as a supporter of, obviously, Guthrie Larch 35, the Masons, and the work that they do, not only for Guthrie, but the surrounding area. I come to you as a mother of many. I come to you as a leader of an organization that truly looks at children that have no foundation. That foundation is broken. That foundation is crumbling. And our goal as Pepper's Ranch is to break that cycle of child abuse and neglect and ensure every Oklahoma child has the hope of a home and the hope of a family. With that said, we rely on so many organizations to help build up the children that are broken in our care. And I can tell you firsthand that the Masons have done an unbelievable job being able to provide, whether it's monetary needs, whether it's support, whether it's, just off the cuff here, prayer. Because there hasn't been one event that we haven't been to that they don't pray for our community, for our families, for our children, and more importantly, for the future of the children that are going to be our future leaders and caretakers. So I just want to come and give our support, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next is agenda item 6B. Are there any board members that want to make comments to the board?
I do. I just wanted to take a moment and really put it out there, a big thank you for Dr. Simpson, Cody Thompson, all of our teachers and our staff that just, the amount of work that they put in over the summer with transitioning to our neighborhood schools, plus, opening a new school on top of that. There's just, the amount of work that they put in is just incredible. And I just wanted to make sure that we recognize them and appreciate everything that they've done to, really take our district in a new direction. And I think we've got some really, really awesome things happening in our district, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds for us. So, thank you.
Two things, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank this board, Guthrie Public Schools, for letting me serve the last 6 years with you. Because of some medical conditions I've contracted in my service in the United States military, I am resigning as of tonight. But I have enjoyed it. I have passionately argued with some of you, and, okay, a lot of you. But I don't believe there's any way other to fight except all the way in. So I hope that for those of you that I've argued with, that you understand that it's never been personal with me, ever, for anybody. And I would also like to take this opportunity to say goodbye to a public icon in our community, to Mr. Frank Davis. We lost Mr. Davis last night, this morning. Mr. Davis was an attorney here in town and a former state representative. He was a wonderful friend, wonderful business leader, community leader, supporter of the schools. And, you know, he had a lot of strong ideas, and I just admired him greatly. But I just wanted to thank you all for letting me be here with you for 6 years, and to say thank you for what Mr. Davis did for 80 years, a lot of it in this community. That's what I have to say.
Well, Terry beat me to it, but I wanted to thank him for his years of service here on the board. I could count Terry as one of my best friends. I don't think any of us have ever questioned Terry's passion. Sometimes he would make us cringe. Other times we would, we'd want to hooray for him. But I want to say we only wish you the best, and your medical conditions and everything are in our prayers, and we hope that everything works out for you. I want to thank you for your service.
I'd like to second that. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to say hats off to everybody who participated in the cross-country meet at Guthrie on Friday in the pouring rain.
Yeah.
Okay, next is agenda item 7 is the superintendent's report.
The first thing I wanted to say is offer my condolences to the Frank Davis family as well. Frank and Kay were one of the first couples that I met when I came to Guthrie, and then I was with them as late as 7 o'clock last night at a local function, and it was quite a shock to get the news about an hour and a half later that he was no longer with us. Kay, many of you know that Kay is a retired educator for this district as well, and in fact she cornered me last night and wanted to know all the scoop about the new school. And so obviously my thoughts and prayers, and I would ask everyone else to be with that family. To Terry, thank you for your service. We've not always seen eye to eye, but we've always worked it out, and we've always put kids first, and that's something I appreciate. Next thing I'd like to talk about is a little bit about the start of the school year and the update from that. I would echo Tina's comments about Cody Thompson and his staff, and the staff at Charter Oak, and all of our elementary staff. We pushed the limit of change, and it affected a lot of people and families, and change never comes easy in education. It usually comes a little slower in education than many other professions. I will tell you that some of the things that people don't know, I might get a text at 11 o'clock at night from Cody Thompson about an issue in one building, and then I look down at my phone before I get up the next morning, and I've gotten one at 5:45 that next morning about another school building and issues there, or we've got another bus stuck, which we've had a lot of this week, and his staff has done an amazing job, because we were on Friday before school opening, we were moving teachers into that building, and we were getting them in for the first time. And while we were doing that on that Friday and Saturday, we had asphalt going down on the parking lot, and that is, it's if you didn't believe in a miracle, you didn't need to be around that building on Thursday and Friday before Labor Day weekend. So what I will say about our transportation, that's probably been the biggest overhaul. And we still have some things to tweak on it. And we are looking at that very carefully, being mindful of cost, but also being mindful of what our students need. And we're going to continue to explore options with that for the safety of our students, and also to maintain fiscal responsibility with the district. The next thing that brings me to, Officer Williams is Lieutenant Llewellyn out there? Have him come in. I wanted to introduce, we have an SRO and Officer J.W. Williams, but we also have our new SRO for Charter Oak Elementary. It's Lieutenant Sean Llewellyn from the Logan County Sheriff's Office. And we're very happy about his presence. Officer Williams has been with us for a number of years. And we're excited about, and I'm not going to go into detail, but we are working to enhance our security even more in our school buildings. And the hallmark that I've said in my career in education is students can't learn if they don't feel safe. And feeling safe and being safe can be two different things. We want them to be safe and feel safe. And so that is our goal, and we're working toward that, and you'll hear some more from me in coming meetings about what we have done or with some announcements. The next item is I wanted to give a construction update. Obviously, the weather this week has hampered a lot of our goals for work outdoors. We still need to pour the basketball court and finish out the sidewalk, and you can't pour concrete when you can't get even a dozer close to it because of the mud. And so hoping to see the sun and drier conditions will allow us to do that. We've been with the meals. They have been trucking them in and eating those in the classroom. We feel like we're probably about 3 weeks out from being able to use the cafeteria, and maybe 6 weeks out from being able to use the gymnasium. And that's going to be the progression of it. And those timelines might be accelerated, but I've never seen construction move on schedule, even when it's indoors. And so we're hopeful that we beat those deadlines. At the junior high, you've noticed that we have done most of the cleaning of the brick. We've done a lot of drainage work improvements, and we've finished the waterproofing. We still have some work to do on the exterior at the upper part on the west side of the capstone. We're going to have to secure some of that. That's just typical stuff that you have in a building that age that's had deterioration. And but we're moving along with that. Another I think it's kind of a cool thing. Film crews are going to be using Jelsma Stadium for the filming of The Mustard Seed in the coming weeks. And yes, they are paying for that. But we're looking forward to working with them. Mr. Chappell and Ms. Chappell, not related, have been working very hard to secure timelines where it doesn't impact our students, and ways that we can be accommodating to them and the film crew and still accomplish what we need with our students. That's my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Simpson. Next is agenda item 8, which is the consent agenda. So we need a motion to approve with the exception of item B.
I move we approve the consent agenda,
Second.
Could we need
excluding item B, I'm sorry.
Sorry, yes. Second.
Exception of item B, yeah. Oh, including it?
Exclude.
Excluding it, yeah.
Item B. Yeah, sorry. So, roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Watts.
Yes.
Salih.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 8B. Do you have a motion to approve?
Move we approve agenda item 8B.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
Abstain.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Salih.
Abstain.
5 ayes, 2 abstentions.
Next is agenda item 9, which is the business agenda. We'll start with item 9A, which is recommendation, consideration, and action upon gifted and talented committee for 2018 to 2019.
This is found on page 59 of your packet. The committee members, this is an annual item that we bring to the board. Recommend approval.
I make a motion, we approve agenda item 9A, gifted and talented committee for 18 and 19.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 9B, recommendation, consideration, and action upon professional development committee for 2018 to 2019.
This is on page 60 of your packet, and this is also an annual item that we file with the State Department of Education. Recommend approval.
I make a motion that we approve the Professional Development Committee for 2018-2019.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 9C, recommendation, consideration, and action upon agreement with Supplemental Health Care to provide an educational interpreter for 2018 to 2019.
This agreement can be found on pages 61 through 68 of your board packet. This is an item that is required if we have a student that requires these services, and we have identified one that will require these services. Recommend approval.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the supplemental health care to provide an educational interpreter for 2018-2019.
Second.
Any other discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 9D is recommendation, consideration, and action upon contract with the Stacy Group, Inc. for architectural services for 2018 to 2019.
This is renewal of our agreement with the Stacy Group. No rates have changed. It's still the same percentages, and recommend approval.
I make a motion, we approve the contract with the Stacy Group, Inc. for architectural services for 2018-2019.
Second.
Is there any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
No.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
6 ayes, 1 nay.
Agenda item 9E is a recommendation, consideration, and action upon favor alternative school handbook for 2018 to 2019.
The handbook as presented, we've identified a couple of items that will need revision, but I'm going to recommend tonight that we go ahead and approve it as presented, and we will bring those revisions to you at the next opportunity, which will probably be next board meeting, next month's board meeting.
I move that we accept the favor alternative school handbook for 2018-2019 with the revisions that Dr. Simpson mentioned.
Second?
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 9F, recommendation, consideration, and action upon the 2018 to 2019 estimate of needs as prepared by Putman and Company, PLLC, and the 2017 to 2018 financial statement and the authority to publish the same.
This is pages 113 through 161 of your packet, and this is an annual item that we bring to the board. And Ms. Chappell, is there anything you want to offer on this?
Not at this time.
I make a motion that we approve agenda item F, financial statement and authority to publish, Putnam Company.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 9G, recommendation, consideration, and action upon revision to district policy F6, which is Guthrie Public Schools Wellness Policy.
This is the second time that we brought this to you. We identified one item that needed minor modifications, and that's in the red line on the first page. I don't believe there are any other changes to it. Recommend approval.
I move that we accept the district policy FX, Guthrie Public Schools Wellness Policy.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 9H, recommendation, consideration, and action upon a 10-cent decrease for fourth grade student lunch meals.
This occurred because of our reconfiguration. When fourth graders are not with sixth graders, you can charge them less. And so, because of federal guidelines, and so we're going to bring that to you for a modification of the lunch price.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the 10-cent decrease for fourth grade student lunch meals.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Salih.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 9I, consideration and vote to approve or not to approve installation of a cornerstone by the Grand Lodge on the northeast corner of Charter Oak Elementary.
I move we approve the installation of a cornerstone by the Grand Lodge on the northeast corner of Charter Oak Elementary.
Second.
We have any discussion?
Yes. Mr. President, first of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing this to go on the agenda, and at the same time, thank Dr. Simpson for the same thing. Okay, Thursday was the first time it came to me that there was a problem with this. And when it came to me, Tina asked me, well, I think it was the first time Tina had heard about it too, if that's correct. Tina asked me, why did you do that, Janae? Why didn't you put it before the board? And I'm going to tell every one of you what I told her. I truly didn't think it was something to come before the board at that time. It didn't come before the board when we did it at Jelsma Stadium. It went to the superintendent. The board participated in it. They spread the cement. The civic leaders spread the cement. The band was there. I even believe the cheerleaders were there. I know that when we did it, the cornerstone down at the City Hall, big parade, the Masons, the band participated in that. I honestly didn't even think that it was going to be an issue. Obviously, I was wrong, and for that, I apologize. I didn't mean to do that, and I also want to apologize to Dr. Simpson, and that I have put you in a very awkward situation. I am sorry that happened. You took me at my word. It wasn't a favoritism thing. I explained what had happened, the history. He listened to me, and because the superintendent made the decision last time. I'm sorry because you are a phenomenal leader for our school system and a great community leader, and I want to say I'm very sorry to you for this. But now I want to talk about this whole situation, because when it came to me on Thursday, I thought we had it settled by Thursday night. I thought by taking it off of the front of the school, this is what I thought, okay? Which I didn't choose that place, and I'm sure that place was chosen simply because at Jelsma, it's smack dab right there when you walk in Jelsma, at the front of Jelsma. I thought when we made the agreement that it was, or talked about going to the northeast corner, which is normally a lot of times where the Masons put it, that it was an okay issue. I got a phone call from Travis sometime between 2 and 3 on Friday saying that there was an objection by a board member or board members, and that is why I asked for it to put on the agenda, because that's the only way I could address you all, because I knew for a fact at least 3 board members had already discussed that. If 4 discuss something outside of the meeting, then we break the Open Meeting Act. So I could not call any of you and talk to you about it. I truly wish one of you all would have picked up the phone and called me and asked me what was going on, and maybe we could have eliminated this whole issue tonight. But it's here, and it needs to be addressed. I've listened to what people have said. Some people call the Masons or the Masonic orders religious. They are not a religious organization. I assure you I'm a part of that great group of people. Yes, we do pray, and yes, we do believe in a supreme being, but you know what? My Lions Club prays every time I go to a meeting. When I go to most banquets, when I go to community things, most organizations pray. That doesn't make them a religious organization. We're a small town, and I love that we're a small town and we can do things as a group and as a community. And I don't want us to get away from that and the support we get from each other. This cornerstone to me is not any different than the Rotary Club saying, hey, I want to put a park bench up out at the new school and put my Rotary sign on it. we would let them, I think. We certainly let our churches right now come into our schools. Thank you, Community Church, that you actually let us come and do enrollment there at Charter Oak. Thank you to the schools, to the churches on East Noble who opened up their schools to let us run school when Favorite burned to the ground. North Church does so much for us. We allowed North Church to give us all the teachers and the teachers' aides, the office aides, T-shirts for the first week of school that said North Church on the back. I know the Ministerial Alliance does baccalaureate. I know the Ministerial Alliance organized food and a cart for the staff for enrollment time. And the First Christian Church took upon themselves to be the ones that did that cart. I know the First Christian Church has a banner with their emblem up on it at the softball field, and I'm sure many others do. I don't think that the emblem situation is something we haven't allowed in the past, if that's the objection. Escrow Chevrolet just gave us $5,000 for this new playground, and if we are very lucky, we're going to get another $25,000 from Allstate. Are we going to tell them that they can't put up some kind of recognition that they gave that? I don't think we want to go. I don't think we want to go to this kind of thing. We're so lucky to have a community that works so well together that I just don't understand what the real problem is. It can't just be because I didn't bring it to you all, because I know for a fact that at that point in time that there was a solution that might have been out there and it was rejected. So now I'm going to say to you all, I am truly sorry that I'm somehow misled this board, but now you all need to speak up and say what your objections are and why we're to this point, and I would appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to talk. For the sake of honesty and openness, you might have saw my check-in this weekend at Life Church. I'm a Christian. I am also a Mason. I've never worn that badge in this group, but I'm a fourth-generation Mason. I have assisted, my family has been assisted by that organization that I've been a part of since I was able to walk. I know that Masons have helped this community and this school district in many ways. I agree with Mr. Kelly. This board needs a policy for the future. This board needs to negotiate and talk about this issue. This board has something tonight that's come up that we've done before here. The junior high has a cornerstone and Jellison has one. I told somebody the other day I could care less because I have some medical issues that I'm focusing on. I'm sorry, but they're bringing all my attention right now because what I think at night about is my kids and my babies and my grandbabies, and I just had one. This isn't about us up here, and we're making it about us. Do I agree with Janae? No. Do I agree with how she did it? Absolutely not. But there's no policy. Whose fault is that? Ours. It's ours. I ask you tonight, if you think that the Masons are something I wish I could talk, I'm not here to defend them. But what I'm telling you is, if we don't have a policy and something comes up, let's deal with it. But in front of these people, it's supposed to be about the kids.
Amen.
We've contacted the Masons. The Masons want to do a ceremony. We don't have a policy. I would ask you tonight, okay, let's vote on it. They do a lot of stuff for us. We use their facilities all the time. They don't charge us for that. But in openness and honesty, my daughter's received a scholarship from the Masons for several years when she was going to college. I got to tell you that before I vote. I believe in honesty. I may be the biggest something there ever is, but I'm not going to be dishonest about it. You guys know what kind of a person I am. I'm a Mason. I'm a veteran. I'm an American. And it's supposed to be about the kids. So So let's vote right now. Take it off our sleeves, take it off our hearts. Let's vote, and then let's make a policy next week. I encourage you, since I won't be on the board, to get together and make a policy to address this if it pops up again. But when you don't have a policy, don't make it about us. It's not about us. It's about this guy and that lady and that lady and that man right there. It's about these guys.
And our kids. That little girl.
So, I support the idea. George Washington laid one in our Capitol. George Washington was a Mason. That's my vote.
Just for clarification, I want to state that it wasn't the request of any one member of this board to bring it before the full board. The OSSBA, which is our governing body, the Oklahoma State School Board Association, which is the governing body that governs our school boards in the whole state, strongly requested that we bring this before the full board.
No, I requested it to become
No.
before the board.
That's why you said you had a deal Thursday night. You thought you had it worked out? And the reason you found out that it wasn't is because the OSSBA said you can't make any deals. You can't just say, yeah, it's okay if one person brings it, if anybody. You can't say that. When it is affixed to a school building, it has to come before the full board. That's why there was no deal made, because they told us, they didn't tell us we had to, but they strongly, strongly advised. Brendan and Julie at the OSSBA strongly advised we bring it to the public, before the public, to this full board. And that's why that's why there was no deal, as you say, to compromise, because there was going to be a compromise. And they said, you can't do it.
Mr. President, can we have a discussion?
That's what we were
With all due
doing.
respect, I wanted to say this for 6 years. The OSSBA is the liberalest bunch of baloney I've ever seen in my life.
Well,
And I just want to make sure that I go on the record saying that. And Mr. President, I believe you know in your heart what I'm talking about.
well, they do still govern us, I know.
I'm not
I know.
disrespecting you in any way.
And I know, and
or any member
I
of
might
this
agree with
board,
you,
but
I don't know,
think
but
an organization over there that's primarily to,
I gotcha.
never mind.
They do govern us.
They provide free legal counsel to board members. We do pay to be a member, belong to their organization, but we primarily rely on our legal counsel that we retain. I think OSSBA, if I understand correctly, their recommendation was an issue that's controversial or anything that attaches something to a building, that should simply be a board agenda item. I mean, it's just, so there's no controversy around it, the decision. So, but I agree with Terry. I certainly have never agreed with all their opinions.
No.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Yeah.
so.
Mr. President, my point of view of this is I've had uncles that are Masons. My brother grew up in DeMolay. I was one of the little DeMolay sweethearts at one time, so I know that it's very ceremonial, but for a good cause, The problem I have with the Cornerstone is it was suggested by a non-member of your chapter. You, as a chapter, never came forward with a formal request of permission for this to even be done. The Rainbow Girls knew there was a ceremony before this board knew there was a ceremony or that there was even a cornerstone. So with that, I just feel that there was some procedure issues that were not followed, that it's hard for me to stand up for you because right now is the first time I've heard your chapter even wanting this, because this came from a request of someone that's not even one of your members. So I just wanted to put that out there. Had procedures been followed in a formal written request for permission to do this, I think the board probably, or at least myself, would have kind of looked at it a little bit different. But with that, I cannot this evening support that.
Any other comments?
Mr. President, I have to concur with Gina. I know of the Masons. I know that you guys do a lot of good things. My concern is, and it was sought legal direction from our attorney, that this is a tight community, and our community gives and gives and gives, and there are a lot of organizations that give. And my concern, whenever I was asked, one, I wasn't made aware that this was even happening, and I reviewed the plans. And two was that, you know, what about the other organizations that are contributing to the schools? I mean, I don't want to take away from what the Masons have done. We are, you know, greatly appreciative of all the efforts. I guess my concern is, you know, where did the other organizations get recognized?
Well, as I explained, right now, they're being recognized all over this place. North Church, on the back of every t-shirt the teachers wore this past week. First Christian Church, big banner at the softball field. There's Rotary Club had at the baseball field. Lots of them are being recognized already. So if we don't do one, we better start pulling everything from the schools until we have a policy.
So Janae, I've got a question. You said, you know, I hear it's not a religious organization. Can you define what the G is in the plaque at Jelsma?
I think that you would have to ask that for a Mason, because I cannot tell you what that is, but I can assure you the word is not God. I've been told that over and over, that is not God, but no, I cannot speak for the Masons on that.
Yeah.
You would have to ask one of them. You might be able to ask Terry, and I don't know if that's really, I honestly say, is that anybody's business?
Well,
But,
no, I mean,
every
it would-
sorority and fraternity has
Yeah.
some kind of emblem in
I
it. I
just-
mean, join Masonry would be my response to that, but I don't know. I can't speak for that for the Masons. That's not my place to do.
Mr. Davis, you might answer that.
Yes, I'd be happy to tell you that the G stands for geometry, because geometry is required for architecture, and architecture is necessary for building. And what we're trying to do is build the lives of men, so we use geometry being the foundation of building as the foundation of our principles to build.
Mr. Mosley spoke of earlier, I don't think he said, Mr. Mosley's a local businessman that put like $75,000 of his own money for a scholarship for Guthrie kids. I'll agree with this, members of this board, that some of you are outraged because of the way this was done. I've talked to people, and initially I was kind of shocked. But we don't have a policy, so whose fault is that? We don't have a policy, so is that the Mason's fault? And I assure you that if you think that the Masons are anything other than a fraternity trying to build better people and better communities, you don't understand the heart of a Mason or these men and women in this community that have helped for a lot of years. And I encourage you guys to say, hey, there isn't a policy. You know, we make an exception and we vote on this tonight. Or at least before you make your decision, you think about it and you say, whose fault is it? Not the Masons. It's our fault for not having a policy like this. So I would encourage you to vote in support of that, and let's fix it. Let's don't be people that kick the can. Let's fix it. But we don't have that policy right now. We need to have one.
Do we know what the plaque will say?
It will be exactly like the one at Jelsma. It has a wreath, it has the Masonic emblem on it, and it usually has the date, and usually has the Grand Master that is going to preside over the ceremony.
I would ask
Is there anything?
we let Mr. Davis and the Grand Master.
President, you can also have a companion stone which has the names of the board members and the superintendent of schools on it, and these stones don't cost you anything. We provide them. So it's not, it doesn't have to be just a Masonic emblem up there.
But it has to be the Masonic emblem on it.
Our stone has a Masonic emblem on it, yes. It
And
does.
but it has to be that stone,
That stone has to be there, yes.
okay?
And they also provide the time capsule.
And we don't have a policy, you're right, for yay or nay, but if we vote yay, then we're setting a precedent that it's okay for a group to put their, I don't know, emblem, is that, I don't even know if that's the right word, I don't know, on a school building, and then how do we decide in the future if someone else comes forward, like we said, there, I mean, and I know the Masons do a lot, I mean, they do, I mean, I'm always hearing how much they give and how much they do. I've been to functions at your wonderful temple, and they're amazing. Not sure I like your sound system, but anyway, that's another thing. But it's an old building, and it's very historical, and it's beautiful. But then how do we decide in the future who gets a chance to put something there? Do we go by the amount of money they've given, the money they've donated, the deeds they've done? I mean, I don't know. I mean, how do you set that precedent? Which is one thing that our attorney, Moyer, said, that you run the risk, in reading the cases that he provided to us, you run the risk of saying yes, and then if somebody comes next year and you go, no, we don't want them, then you run the risk of litigation.
I think you make a policy. I think you design a policy and pick one
Okay,
out.
but tonight, we're not about making a policy.
We're not about that, but we are about what we decide tonight should affect every emblem we have in our school system on an organization.
Well, right, exactly.
So everything starts coming down, folks.
And then when we do, and like I said, if we accept it, and it'll just
And that's a
depend
lot
on
of
the board.
churches too, you gotta, and they are.
If they accept
the
it,
religious part.
then that sets a precedent for what can be accepted, and then what do you do when the next school is
Sharon,
built?
does it really hurt?
I'm not saying it does.
Yeah, it must.
No, no,
it's
no,
bothering
no,
me. I
no.
mean,
I was in the law for 30 years, Janae, and I always look, and I'm sure your husband, who is an attorney, can also say, you always look to where you stand as far as, I'm not saying anything will ever come of it, probably won't, but you always have to look and weigh out everything. That's my legal mind thinking. It has nothing to do with anything else, I assure you, it does not. I'm just throwing that out because that's my legal mind, the way it works.
We had a policy a few years ago about groups in our school board. We changed that policy. We moved certain groups out of our school.
Right.
I had a very staunch Christian in my office the next day screaming at me for not allowing fellowships of Christian athletes in the school. What kind of person am I to throw the fellowships of Christian athletes out? And I said, the one that told the Satanists of Tulsa that they can't be in our school? I understand it. We don't have a policy. We should have had one. Was there mistakes made in this? Absolutely. There were mistakes. I wasn't involved in it. I prayed about it, talked about it. I was frustrated beyond belief when I first heard about it because I'm in Guthrie Lodge 35 and I heard about it from someone that wasn't. Sorry. But tonight, we need to make a policy. You guys know that. But there's not one right now. I encourage you to vote for it.
So here tonight, by the board taking action on this and voting, I've heard that it's an endorsement from the board and some celebration. And it kind of bothers me a little bit that the assumption is made that just because I don't identify with it or don't, maybe if I chose not to support it, that I somehow believe the most fringe arguments in opposition to the Masons. No, that's not accurate at all. But also want to say, I mean, it's well known the Masons, are among the most generous supporters of Guthrie students and obviously champions of education. And I regret that we must consider this issue tonight because we're asking each other to vote on something that is deeply personal for some and not without controversy. It's difficult to discuss these personal beliefs without inflicting wounds that divide us rather than unite us behind our students. I honestly believe that we can hold differences of opinion or have different understandings of an issue without questioning each other's values or beliefs. However, this vote makes it very difficult to avoid hurting each other or members of the community because a vote either way will be perceived as passing judgment on one another's deeply held convictions. I intend to vote no tonight, not because I think the Masonic Lodge is undeserving, but rather that the Board of Education should avoid controversial issues that have nothing to do with education policy or our students. We've had a few policy disagreements in the past, but I've learned that we should pick these issues carefully and that we are stronger when we can minimize disagreements and work on issues that make us stronger. And that's all I have to say on the subject.
Well, I guess I'm the only one that hasn't spoke yet, and I can't let that go. I sit here and I think everybody at some level has a very valid point to what they've said here tonight. I'm just going to throw it out there. I was a recipient of the Masonic Student of the Day Award when I was in high school. And it meant a lot to me. I still have that certificate in my mementos. I know a lot of people. My sister-in-law worked for the Masons for years and years and years at the main office. I don't think there was any malice, any ill intent from Janae not bringing this to the board. I was one of the ones that didn't find out about it until I walked into a meeting on, what day was it? Thursday, excuse me, yeah, of last week. I had no clue. It sounds like to me we've got some work to do. I mean, obviously, these are things that we can no longer just assume that we know how people are going to react. It is a difficult position, and I totally appreciate Travis's words because it does. It divides us rather than unites us.
Right.
This is not a good place for this board to be up here debating this. It's not. It's a detriment to our district when we have got such great things going on, and we're fighting and arguing and bickering about a cornerstone from an organization that wholeheartedly supports our district. I think that, like I said, I think we've got some work to do. Obviously, we are very out of practice from having this done, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This is the first school we've built since 1989. We don't know what we're doing, guys. Were you on the board in 89?
No.
No, 92.
So we're all amateurs up here at this. Just as you guys, the Masons, obviously, there probably should have been a formal request. But there again, we have not done this enough to really know what we need to be doing. And I hope and pray to God that that changes. I hope the future of this district, I hope we're having this debate every 4 years. So I appreciate the Masons, the Masonic Lodge, and what you guys have done for the district for years and years and years. And I hope that this board can put aside our personal feelings and beliefs and make some changes, make a policy. Let's take care of this so we're not having this debate again, and do what's best for our kids.
I like the idea of the time capsule. Don't get me wrong, I know when we renovated Gelsma that there was excitement when the time capsule was found. I think it would be great to put it in the school. I just would like to see a formal request from you guys that you want to, rather than showing up the night of for us to vote on. Because like I say, I grew up in the Presbyterian church, and there was a lot of men in the Presbyterian church who were Masons. And I grew up, and they were great men who did things for our community. Once these policies are developed and that we put into place, I hope this will come forth to you, that if the opportunity comes again, that you're right there ready to put another time capsule in, if we're building another school, or to come back and do what you do, because we do appreciate the things. I just would have liked to have seen a formal request from the Masons that this is what they wanted to do. And so that's what
And I appreciate that, Gina, completely. It just hadn't been done that way. And I'm
Right.
sorry, I did not try to slip anything over on you all. That's what I'm trying to explain. That's not how it's been done. They could have filled out the little sheet of paper and given that to Mike, and I don't know that at the time we would have ever thought anything different. It's just the way it had been done before. I'm sorry that I didn't mean
And I understand. I mean,
lambaste you, the way, I guess the way to say, that wasn't the intent at all. I thought it was a no big deal.
But for architecture structure to be changed 8 to 9 months ago, and none of the board members knew about it, I think that was what hit
Oh,
home
now,
with me.
anybody that's been out there has seen that there was a hole there. I mean, come on, if you've been out and looked at the school at all,
Well,
and
I
it
have.
wasn't being, and if you asked, people would tell you, because they knew what it was
Still
for.
laying bricks and things when I was out there last time with Dr. Simpson and Carmen. So,
Well, I agree that this thing might not have been handled right, but I encourage the board to consider the 15 or so men that are here and women that are here tonight for the Masons, and if there was a mistake made, I'll offer an apology. I'll offer an apology from me and my lodge, or me and every Mason that's in this room, because I know every one of them. It's never an intent for a Mason to deceive. I'm just saying, we don't have a policy. There was a mistake made. There's an apology from me. Let's fix it in the future. Let's don't hold up good men and women with good intentions because of a mistake by one of us or someone.
Okay, just so you are more aware of what happens in a cornerstone. The cornerstone is a foundation. You have the foundation stone and then a cornerstone. It was laid in our nation's capital. If you go to D.C., you're going to find the Masonic cornerstone on almost every historic building there. It's kind of a celebration. It's a celebration that kids get to go up. They get to spread cement. They get to learn a history lesson. It's part of our foundation of America. What we had planned, and I'm sorry I did not bring up this, is to have a blue or a white balloon for every single kid to lift off. We were going to celebrate Charter Oak. The public's to be invited. It wasn't some secret ceremony. It was going to be a big, and any of the board members could have spoke. They could spread cement. I ask you to please consider letting the kids do this. It's an educational thing. If we've made a mistake, if I've made a mistake, if the Masons have made a mistake because we didn't do it before the board in the past, I'm saying you blame that on me, but don't take this away from the opportunity for these kids to enjoy that. It really is a good educational history lesson.
Okay, any other questions? The motion stands, so roll call, please.
Smedley,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes?
Pennington,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson,
No.
Davis,
no.
Watts,
No.
Salee.
No.
3 ayes, 4 nays.
Next is agenda item 10, the proposed executive session for the purpose of discussing employment of personnel, FMLA requests, resignation, separation from employment, and transfer of position. Request all is set out on the personnel reports, discussing and considering the matter of a student A, periodic annual evaluation in terms of employment of Dr. Michael Simpson, superintendent of schools, and extra duty assignments as listed for 2018 to 2019, disclosure of which information would violate the confidentiality requirements of state and/or federal law, all pursuant to 25 Oklahoma Statute, Section 307, B1 and 7. We have a motion to go into executive session.
So moved?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Smedley,
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson,
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Watts.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
It's time to acknowledge the board's return to open session. Only items in Agenda 10 were discussed in executive session and no votes were taken. This shall constitute the executive session minutes. Agenda item 11, vote on action is set out on the personnel reports.
I move that we accept the action set out on personnel reports.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington. Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Sallee.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 12, recommendation, consideration of vote to grant or not to grant student A an exception to district policy F2.
Mr. President, I make a recommendation that we grant an exception to district policy F2 for student A.
Second.
Motion. New motion.
Oh, I gotta make the motion?
Yeah.
I make the motion that we accept the grant,
No, we grant the.
that we grant student A an exemption to district policy F2.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Pennington. Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Sallee.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 13, action upon recommendation of extra duty assignments as listed for 2018 to 2019.
I make a motion that we approve the extra duty assignments as listed in 2018, 2019.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Sallee. 6
Yes.
ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 14, recommendation, consideration, and action to accept any resignations offered since the posting of the agenda.
We have none.
Agenda item 15, discussion and possible action on new business not known about or could not have been reasonably foreseen at the time of the agenda posting.
We have none.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Sallee.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.